We also talked about this a couple of weeks ago. Safe consumption might need a safer supply. So I don't know if you know this, but a major driver of overdoses and deaths are actually unsafe supply or altered supply of illegal substances. So especially opioids. So when people consume opioids, and I'm always learning more about this, people consume opioids. A lot of the time, the reason for an overdose is that there will be other things
in it
they didn't expect in it. So
fentanyl.
These stronger opioids, like fentanyl. There's another one I just heard about the last couple weeks. It's kind of similar in potency, or even more potent.
Okay.
And that's kind of showing up in overdoses and things.
Uh-huh.
And again, if these are mixed in with what you'd expect, it can increase the potency and create unexpected deaths or other serious health effects. So, two of the co-founders of the new safe consumption site we were talking about downtown said that the new safe consumption site is merely a drop in the bucket of a necessary drug strategy. So another aspect that's really going to be important is to actually have safe supply and a controlled supply. So their tactic that they're suggesting is, just like we have controlled substances, alcohol, cigarettes, and now cannabis, people that consume those have a product that's high quality and the ingredients are listed.
For sure.
Whereas when you have anything that's illegal, there's no quality control at all. No. So what was your take on this?
Well, I don't know. I just think it's getting very interesting now with that we have, we're going to have a safe consumption site.
That's going to happen, yeah.
Already.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know, is it open yet?
Well, it's finished construction, but they're working on getting it open.
Open. Now, sure, you can go there and be in a safe environment with people around us. So let's say if there was a chance of an OD, let's say, or whatever, you have somebody qualified there to keep an eye on the situation.
Sure.
But this takes it up even more. So what they'll be using might not necessarily be safe. It could be laced with, let's say, fentanyl or some other harmful substance. So these people are saying, so it's great we have a safe consumption site. Now we need something that's safe to consume, which takes it totally to the next level. And we need really clean heroin, so somehow it needs to be regulated.
Just or supplied directly.
Exactly. Yep. So interesting stuff. I mean, we're in an interesting age where we're making interesting decisions, and we're in uncharted territory here. So there's arguments on both sides of it.
Yep.
I honestly don't know where I'm at on what side, or I don't know enough information about it to really have an educated opinion on
one way or the other. You're kind of on the fence
at the moment. It's kind of too fresh for me. I just know it's a huge epidemic, period. Too many people are becoming victims of, opioids that are laced with other things. Because I think, like you said, if they were clean, there'd be far less deaths.
Far fewer deaths, yep.
Yeah.
Actually, the article on Sudbury.com mentions that in 1996, OxyContin started to be prescribed, and it was told to people that it was not addictive. So pretty quickly, people started misusing it.
Yeah.
It became a popular street drug. And that's kind of how a lot of these drugs go, right? Like fentanyl was used in like surgical settings, was like used in a very limited capacity, and then the potency of it kind of got out, and it started having street uses. And then before long, they kind of make these alterations, like we were mentioning, cutting in other drugs or mixing it with other drugs. And even animal tranquilizers. I don't know if you've ever heard of this.
No.
So apparently animal tranquilizers, some of them not available in Canada, these are non-prescription, have increased. So more than 25% of opioid-related deaths during the pandemic were related to tranquilizers.
Wow. So they're
because of the supply chain, I guess, supply chain disruptions.
So they're just adding different things, whatever they can get their hands on.
They'll
it sounds
turn
like
to
it.
different substances. Yeah. It's really
As long as it
interesting.
Wow, that's really terrible on many levels.
69% of opioids seized by law enforcement agencies across Canada consisted of fentanyl or fentanyl analogs. So a big majority of seizures had fentanyl cut in or were fentanyl,
Ouch.
which is really deadly. Like, we've all heard
Yes.
stories about this drug, like accidental overdose, even if someone just handling it.
Oh, for sure.
Like, it's that potent. And I don't know how much,
Yeah.
like, I don't know. This is a serious issue.
Hugely serious. It's like
Could be the most important issue, like, in Sudbury.
it,
Because by and far, more people have died from opioids than from,
then COVID.
dare I say it,
Yes, the word
the respiratory disease of unknown origin.
for sure.
So,
It's true. Now, we haven't given it as much exposure. Or,
well, you can't go to the hospital a lot of the time
Yeah.
because you're just dead
No, it's true.
from an overdose, right?
Huge issue though. Like, what do you do with an issue like this? Like, how do you combat?
I think it's a prevention thing.
Mm-hmm.
With COVID, it was like stay home. You can prevent. Like, staying home was considered a much better strategy than, all these other
Yeah.
things. But
Yeah, like
if you believe in the stay home strategy for COVID, you should believe in the never start strategy for opioids, in my opinion.
for sure, yeah. Like don't do drugs. This is your brain.
Well, it
on
sounds
drugs.
rote, but
It is.
that's really the only like long term strategy.
But it's a societal thing. It's a consequence. It shows what what's the word with the medical term? It's basically it shows that there's something wrong, and then that's the result from a societal problem that we haven't been able to address, obviously, because it's rising incrementally, and there's a lot of people that are falling victim to it. And why would somebody choose to do that in the first place? There's something missing. There's something that they're trying to fix in their life, correct?
Or it was accidental, like with the case of OxyContin. Like, a lot of the time, it was prescribed originally. People become dependent on it.
Yeah.
The prescription stops, and then they seek out other sources. I think that
Exactly.
happens a lot.
For sure.
So it starts out in a condoned legal way, and then it moves into the illegal later. And that's something we have to analyze in the pharmaceutical,
Yeah.
part of our healthcare system. If that's helping as much as it's hurting, I don't know.
Definitely.
Because painkillers are an amazing technology of, the 20th, 19th, and 20th centuries. The fact that we can take away pain from someone that's suffering from chronic pain, acute pain. Like, that's a really powerful thing. But if it has all these really negative consequences for society, people, individuals, we have to decide if it's really worth it.
Exactly.
Like, when I take a Tylenol to fix a headache, if it caused me to beat my loved ones, like, would that be worth it?
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'd probably say it's not worth it.
For sure. So it's one thing that it's available. So there's a strategy to take this off the market, possibly at high levels. It's there. If I want to choose to do it, I
It's
can
out
get
there.
it.
Yeah, it's out there.
So if it wasn't there in the first place, I couldn't even choose to do it. So that's one thing. And then what's going on that's causing people to even think that this is an option? It's better to do this than it is to go through what I'm currently, facing.
Just
which is
life
huge.
normally.
Like,
Yeah.
are we providing our, people in our society with the skills and the abilities to combat some of these things that they're turning to drugs to overcome? Or,
Sure.
are we doing that? Like, how are we? How do we test something like that? What is a way to kind of measure these types of things, right? So, very complex.
I have a few ideas, but
I'm sure you do. I'm positive you do.
yeah, but again, it's like, Just as I think it's inappropriate for middle class or, working class people to make suggestions for the rich and what they should do with their life, it's kind of silly for me to make recommendations to people struggling with an opioid addiction. It's like I don't understand enough about it. I've never been addicted to opioids, so me making suggestions doesn't really mean a lot, I acknowledge that I am
For sure.
not qualified at all.
And that's good, but that again, right? Like, does that prevent a lot of people from stepping into the arena and doing something they could possibly contribute to the problem and
But it's
and
easy.
help
It's
too,
easy
right?
to make suggestions about
Yeah,
things you don't understand.
definitely.
That's what I'm saying.
Totally appreciate that, and then I guess the real help comes from those who were able to find a way
That's right.
to unfortunately get into it, but then found a way to overcome it. These people become the warriors, the ones that really have the experience to help someone through it the way they did, because they have lived experience with it.
Exactly. Yeah. I don't know. Like, I'll say this. We'll end on this story on this. Two things that really solidified the issue for me and made me understand opioid addiction prevention, the importance of prevention, the importance of all of this were movies.
Mm-hmm.
Two of them.
Okay.
There's again, neither of these movies are happy. They're not
Okay.
feel good movies.
Yeah,
That's the
for
whole
sure.
point, right? So the two were Train Spotting,
I knew you were going to say that. Yep.
and the other one was Requiem for a Dream. So those two movies for me, probably the most powerful campaign against ever doing opioids.
So if someone was to possibly watch this movie before
Just some time in their life,
Yeah.
it could be in your 20s.
Kinda
These are
educational.
serious. Both of them are very serious,
yeah.
disturbing.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that, I don't know, pretty good arguments.
Yeah, definitely.
Emotional arguments. That's the whole point of a movie, right? It can be very emotional.
Yep.
Stories, even fictional stories, can be much more
Yeah.
compelling.
And my heart goes
And there's
out.
a third one,
Yeah.
but I can't remember the title right now.
That's fine.
Maybe I could find it.
I'm sure there's
Someone
plenty.
that's listening that, like me, wants to have an emotional attachment to the issue, not just an intellectual attachment. I'm going to find it right now.
And anyone can feel free to comment too, as if you're watching on Facebook Live, it's not a problem to communicate. We do have our screen open with being able to respond to comments in real time, which is really wonderful. And as the show continues to be perfected and becomes something a lot more people are going to be realizing it's a conversation, there'll be a lot more conversation back and forth and a real great kind of town hall each and every morning
Exactly.
based on local issues. And so did you find it?
Yeah, so it's a movie, the Safdie brothers, who are really talented filmmakers. I really
Yeah.
enjoy their films. They made a movie in 2014 called Heaven Knows What, and that's kind of the third one, I would say.
Cool.
So those three films changed my perspective on it. All three of them were made, I think, in a spirit of helping and understanding rather than accusatory.
Exactly, yeah.
That's the whole point.
Well, my heart definitely goes out to all the people that are affected, that are either directly affected or secondarily affected by this opioid crisis, which it is. And again, as Zach pointed out, we do both believe it's actually right on the top of the list of priorities we should be giving in terms of a health crisis in
Yep.
our country.
And it spills over into other areas
Yeah.
too. We just also happen to have a homeless encampment in downtown.
Yeah,
These things are linked.
linked, definitely. Hey, AJ here. Did you like that video? Please like and subscribe for more. Just like it every weekday.
Share it with your friends so they can stay up to date with all Sudbury news.